Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. I woke up. It was early in the morning, and I was still in my nightshirt and playing with my dolls in my room, just like I did every morning before breakfast. Since Mom was already making breakfast, I had a little time to play. Everything looked a bit messy again. There was a doll's baby buggy in the middle of the room, and lots of other baby toys were all over the place. Now, if I'm being honest, I was born a boy. Not many people know what I look like on the inside. My name is Nikki, and I really do feel like a girl. Luckily, Mom lets me play girl as much as I want. And no one in my neighborhood gives it a second thought when I play outside with other girls while dressed as a girl. Also, I wear my hair very long, and whenever it needs to be cut, I always argue. Mom told me, as we ate breakfast together, that she had to fly to New York for work and spend the whole summer vacation there. She would like to give me to my mom's twin sister, my aunt, at that time. Aunt Jessica would be thrilled to help. Since a hit-and-run driver killed my uncle and my cousin Nietzsche in an accident on the interstate, she has had a hard time getting her life back on track. She would like to have something to do and someone to care about. At first, I wasn't too excited about the idea because it felt like I'd never been away from Mom. I'd miss my friends and my toys, too. After all, Aunt Jessica only knew me as her nephew. She had no idea how girly I really was. It's been 3 years since my dad left my mom to go live with another woman, but she was my favorite aunt in the end. After some thought, I decided to say yes to Mom's idea. She called her aunt when she felt better, and you could hear the joy in her aunt's voice. She told me she would fix up the guest room in her house right away so I could feel at home there. They talked for a long time about this and that, but I went back to my room to play with my dolls and missed most of what they said. I knew I couldn't do that for 6 weeks, so I had to be brave and play the part of a boy. We just got to Aunt Jessica's big villa after driving for 6 hours. I had just got out of the car when she grabbed me and gave me a big hug. "Nikki, you've grown up a lot. You can't imagine how happy I am that you're coming to stay at my house for the summer. You have long hair like a girl, but you kids probably like that look again." Then Mom and Aunt Jessie gave each other a warm hug. We went into the house where Aunt Jessie made us a tasty lunch and showed my mom and me my room. The room was very pretty. In the middle was a racetrack for cars, and on the shelves were all kinds of Lego blocks and other toys, all bright and ready to play with. I hope I found the right toys, since I've never had a small boy stay with me for a long time before. Like most girls, Nietzsche was interested in different things when it came to toys. I could tell right away that Aunt Jessie's voice was shaking when she talked about Nietzsche. Even though I was only 11, I could tell that Nietzsche's death must have been very hard for her. I jumped up to put my arms around her neck and tell her that everything was great, and that I loved her a lot. Her voice got back to being happy. When Mom went out to get something, Aunt Jessie showed me around the whole house. She showed me where everything was and was proud to show me the swimming pool and the small playground with swings and monkey bars that she had built in the garden. She showed me every room in the house except one. I was, of course, interested, so I asked what was in the room with the closed door. "That's Niecy's room, and I've left everything just the way it was. Please don't go into the room because it's full of memories." Still, she opened the door and let me take a peek inside. I said I wouldn't touch anything or make any changes. Still, the way the room was set up and the toys reminded me a lot of my own room at home, so it felt like a little fairy tale land to me. It was just much bigger. There were at least 10 times as many toys, dolls, and other things to play with. A lot of clothes were also hung up in a pretty way in the closet. With my big, sparkling eyes, it was hard for me to look away from all the beautiful things there. I really hoped that Aunt Jessica wouldn't notice how enchanted I was by all the pretty things. Then we went to my new room, where Aunt Jessie and I started unpacking and putting things back where they belonged. By the time we were done, it was getting pretty late. After a light dinner, we watched a video of The Little Mermaid. I cuddled up in my aunt's arms, which she welcomed with open arms. Now that Niecy had been gone for almost a year, she was very happy to have me back. I didn't learn much from the end of the movie. It seemed like sleep was taking over more and more, and it was hard to keep my eyes open. Aunt Jessie took me by the arm and led me to my room. There, she gently put me in my pajamas. She put me to bed and kissed me goodnight, and I fell asleep almost right away. The next morning at breakfast time, my aunt woke me up. We ate croissants and fresh bread rolls with Nutella for breakfast together and laughed while we ate. "How did you sleep the first night, Nikki?" I told her I slept wonderfully. She said, "I've already seen that." Both of us began to laugh. I took a shower after breakfast and then I felt great. I have to take an hour-long drive into the city to see my doctor. Will being here alone for a while bother you? In that time, you can give your new racetrack its first name. I'll be back as soon as I can, and then I'll introduce you to some nice people who live nearby. Their kids already can't wait to meet you. You'll find a lot of new people to play with. It's fine, Aunt Jessie. I can play a little bit until you come back. She drove into town and I went to the racetrack to pass the time, until my curiosity made me look again into the room of my cousin, who had died so young. I went to the room, but I was afraid it would be locked. The door was shut, but not locked. But I chose not to touch anything or make any changes, just to take a look around. I walked into the space. I was almost giddy the first time I went because there were so many pretty things and clothes. I carefully took a dress out of the closet and held it up to the mirror. Best of all, I would have put it on right away, but I carefully put it back where it belonged and turned to the dolls. I started playing with the dolls without even thinking about it. I sat on the fluffy, rug-covered floor and played until I had no idea how much time had passed. I noticed after a while that I wasn't the only one in the room. Aunt Jessie looked at me with tears in her eyes as she watched me. I had a huge fear. I shouldn't have gone into the room. I felt guilty, like I always did when I did something wrong. "Aunt Jessie, please don't get mad. I didn't want to touch anything." Aunt Jessie has now come to see me. I thought I was about to get a big helping of anger, but she sat down in front of me, pulled me into her arms, and started patting my head. "Oh, I'm so sorry if I scared you. I've stood at the door and watched you play for a while. When you did that, you looked just like Nicole did when she played for hours in the same spot. Nikki, you look a lot like her, don't you know? I almost thought for a second that her death was just a bad dream and that she was suddenly back in the room. I didn't know that you liked to play with dolls because your mom didn't tell me. And the way you were playing there, it didn't look like it was your first time, did it?" Now I was a little bit relieved, because I had been expecting a fight. But instead, my aunt held me and asked me all kinds of questions. Then I finally told her my secret. That, in fact, I'd much rather be a girl. My aunt paid close attention to what I said. "Nikki, do you know what? If you want, you can sleep and play here in Nishi's room while you stay with me. I think it would be better to hear a child laugh again in this room, which would have made Nishi happy." I agreed right away because I thought this would make my aunt happy in some way, and I would also really like it here. I heard Aunt Jessie set out my new clothes. There were 2 piles of clothes. On one pile were the boys' underwear, socks, pants, and t-shirt. On the other pile were the girly ones, fancy white nylons, and a cute pink dress. Aunt Jessie smiled and said, "It's up to you, Nikki, to decide what you want to wear." After some thought, I decided to go with the girls' clothes. I started to feel happy and good about myself. After Aunt Jessie got dressed, I put my long hair in a ponytail to look like a girl. I saw a cute little girl when I looked in the mirror. "You remind me of Nicole. It's amazing how much they are alike. You look like you were made to look like her." Then she showed me some pictures of Nishi. She was right. Nishi's pictures looked just like me. Most likely, that's because Mom and Jessie were twins and had the same taste in men when they chose our dads. That's probably how the 2 sisters came up with our names. Again, Jessie took me in her arms, pressed me against her, and whispered, "I love you, Nishi." I told her, "I love you too, Mama," to give her a special kind of joy. Then, Jessie's face lit up with happiness, and you could see tears of joy in her eyes. "I'm glad you called me Mama. As you might guess, I've missed that a lot. If you want, you can always talk to me like that." That sounds better to me than Aunt Jessica. In a way, that was better for me, too, because it made me feel safe. Now that I was going to be a girl for the rest of my vacation, I danced around my much nicer room and thought about all the clothes in the closets. Jessie moved some of my things, like my toothbrush, and things I needed to take care of myself, into my new room, which had its own bathroom. I played on the swing in the garden until Jessie called me inside for lunch at noon. After dinner, we walked to a family that Jessie knew because she was friends with them. I think they will be shocked. I just told them yesterday that my little nephew would be spending the summer with me, and now I'm coming to visit them with my little niece. But you shouldn't worry at all. This is a nice family, and their son Basti is different from other boys his age in many ways. I proudly walked next to her in my pink dress and didn't worry about anything. At that moment, I was the happiest girl in the world. Then, when we got where we were going, Aunt Jessica rang the doorbell. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.